Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, July 16th, Prime Day, which may quickly become known as the internet is all screwed up day, at least for me. Amazon's Prime website is not working very well. I was able to do Prime shopping, but honestly I only got one deal and just bought a lot of things I was gonna buy anyways for the basically same price I was gonna pay anyways. So I had hoped I was putting off some shopping in the chance that they'd maybe give you a 1%, even 2%, 5%, 10% off discount off the entirety of your purchases. But we really didn't see that. There's a car camera to record accidents that's on a decent sale. That's the one thing I got on sale. And then there was a Prime Day sale for a cell phone repair kit that I missed. And this Prime Day's only been going on for 2 hours. Their website's been all messed up. Now, maybe related to that, my internet has just been all messed up too. It may not be related to that. I have been spending this entire week uploading Hearthstone videos and playing a little bit of Bejeweled, which we'll get into in a second. So maybe that messed up the internet, maybe not, I don't know. But right now the stream could be pretty bad. You can see that in the messages, which I still haven't fixed the CSS scripting. I've tried. I'm gonna have to do put more research into it to get the text to look white. I cannot read any of what's happening on the messages right now, so apologies for that. It's just, you know, priorities. Once that broke, fixing it wasn't gonna be amazingly easy. Hearthstone related though, let's get into Hearthstone. The Ragnaros Festival is back. So everything is doubled, so this is effectively a 60, this is effectively a 60, and this is effectively a 50. And as far as overlap, we need to play Paladin, so we need to hop in there and do that, I guess. Giving us double the amount of gold is nice, certainly. It makes a lot of sense since we know that there's only about a month between now and the next expansion. The idea would be, it would be very nice to have the next expansion to be up to closer to 100%, 100 packs instead of 60, which is what we're at right now. Also apologies, like right now on the messages it looks like somebody has just commented on the chat, but on my cell phone version I'm not seeing any chat messages, so either that's I'm misreading it or the chat's all messed up, so apologies for all that. Speaking of apologies, I'm going to try to get through an entire stream today, but I may have to go to just a silent post show because a large amount of dust, and apparently I'm allergic to dust. I imagine most people are allergic to dust, or at least this is my estimate of what's going on. A lot of dust came in, particularly last night as I was playing 5 hours of Bejeweled 3 because I needed a filler series to happen in between Warcraft and the Temple of Osiris and the beginning of October month. There's just a week there at the end of September where I was like, well, I don't want to start Halloween month early. Halloween month is the one month where I try to make everything line up at least moderately. If it was 3 days, I probably would have done it. But then I had Bejeweled 3. I don't have Bejeweled 1 or 2. And frankly, after spending 5 hours on Bejeweled 3, I don't feel like I really need to own Bejeweled 1 or 2 or Blitz or any of their other games, because Bejeweled 3 is the latest version that's available on Steam from at least PopCap, and it's a big meh for me. I'm just not really a fan of that. Okay, now I'm seeing that that was Nightbot's song request that came up, and the delay is incredibly high.
Your magic shall not.
So I played it. I think if you like match 3 or match 4 puzzle games, well, I guess you just call them match 3, even if you can match more than 3. Most puzzle games that are match 3 allow you to match more. I guess you'd be fine with Bejeweled 3. It's an old game since it came out in 2010, and it's definitely missing some features. It's surprisingly missing credits. Like, no credits for the people who made the game are accessible throughout the menu. That's kind of crazy. And I think PopCap either went out of business or was absorbed by Facebook, because it doesn't seem like they're doing anything these days. But yeah, I didn't like a lot of the very different ways to play Bejeweled that were in Bejeweled 3, and that's slightly a problem. And let's see.
Job's done.
There were a few modes I did like, but I didn't like them well enough to want to play them any extra. All the achievements are kind of too difficult, and winning often felt like it was just a little too much based on randomness for me. Also, when you compare it to, say, 10 Million or its sequel, You Must Build a Boat. You Must Build a Boat is a lot better, even though it keeps you under the wire throughout the entire game. There is no like Zen mode to You Must Build a Boat like there is in Bejeweled. It gives you much smaller linear quests. You always have 3 quests, and You Must Build a Boat to work towards. And once you finish those quests, you get an item that improves how your experience happens, and it has this RPG elements that makes the gameplay a lot better, in my opinion. Also, You Must Build a Boat has daily challenges, so there's more of a reason to come back and play some more. And Bejeweled 3 just doesn't have that. On the other hand, if you're kind of bored with match 3 games, Honey Pop is another game that might be better suited. Like, if you're a fan of anime girls or anime-esque girls and dating sims, and you want to break into match 3, Honey Pop does that for you pretty well, and it certainly kept my attention all the way through that game, whereas I could see significant arguments that many other match 3 games would just lose my attention. Let's see, do I want this? I'm wondering if Nightmare Amalgam actually isn't a pretty good card to play as a Murloc. So in all different directions, since match 3 is not so much a main gameplay mechanic in 2018 as it is a subtitle, a lockpick mechanism type game, some mini game in something bigger. In the same way that BioShock had the pipes mini game to hack the vending machines, I get the same feeling that a match 3 game should be something like that. And when you try to make it its the main focus, it gets really hard for me to be interested in the game, because match 3 is kind of boring. Also, it's kind of weird to play Bejeweled 3 because it's on PC, and that you'd almost certainly want this on a mobile game, or you would want cloud saving or cross-platform play or something like that. You'd want a high score table that is more than just a fake high score that they've set up. Like, there's no online ranking leaderboards for Bejeweled 3. It's just a fake top scores that they've preloaded with scores like old arcade games used to be, where when you reset the memory, the top high score was always like 100,000 or 1,000,000, or whatever was a reasonably low high score to be beaten. Let's see. What can we do? That won't kill that. And that won't kill that. And so we'll just sacrifice this guy.
Not on my watch.
Kill this one. Attack there, and that one, and that one. And turn. So, I'm probably saying more right now about Bejeweled 3 than I even said during the actual coverage of it. It's a real hard game to criticize, certainly, because it is what it is, and that's kind of all you can say. It wasn't bad in implementing what it promised to implement. It was just bad in the fact that it didn't implement things it never promised. We much more often have the exact opposite No Man's Sky effect, where games overpromise and underdeliver. This one probably at worst underpromised and overdelivered.
Reporting for duty.
Well, maybe it'd be better explained as they underpromised and underdelivered.
For justice.
Moving on though, let's try to get through all the news, because like I said, at any point I could have a horrible coughing fit, and I'm gonna have to just wrap this up, so I want to just get as much of the news as possible. PC Gamer has an article. The former visual creative director reveals plans for Dead Space 4. Little bits and trinkets here. I saw a video covering this exact same news, so I don't really need to read this article. Inherently, it's admits at least that the visceral creative director will never have another hand in creating a Dead Space game. If I think it's EA wants to make another Dead Space game, I don't think they're going to include him, so whatever is revealed here is probably not what would happen anyways. Interesting, the lady who was working with Visceral, Amy Henning I believe is her name, I could be wrong, apologies if I am. She worked on Legacy of Kain and was like the lead creative writer and director of that. So if Square Enix was ever going to bring back the Legacy of Kain game series, it would be interesting if they could convince her to come back and work on it. Probably not, I would guess. I'd just imagine the Legacy of Kain series is too old and too dead. It would do very well if they were to take all the good parts that people like from all of the games in that series, because it's a particularly lesser known and older series, merge them together, do a full remake, do something pretty cool there. That might work. But even if you were to do all of that, I'm still not sure you wouldn't end up making at best a AA game from a company that only wants AAA games and $1 million seller games. I'm just not sure Legacy of Kain as a series is ever gonna be able to grow its appeal beyond its original peak niche audience. Same is probably true for Dead Space 2. That's what Dead Space 3 was an attempt to, instead of having a niche horror game that appealed to a smaller audience, they tried to shift it into a generically popular, accessible by all game that was a co-op third-person shooter, and it failed miserably with the audience that actually liked it. They tried to pivot the audience basically, and you can't pivot your customers and pivot your audience most of the time. I don't know if I can think of a good example of it ever actually working. And if it has worked, it probably worked over the course of a very long amount of time. See, we have Dual Match Solitaire. I don't think that's actually a game that just came out. No, it's not even out until July 26th. This is the game that I've already talked about a couple times from the publisher, I believe, that published Regency Solitaire. They're publishing a different Solitaire, but I don't think it's from the same creator. But they're all kind of made on the same Solitaire game engine, it seems like. Maybe it's just a Unity example. Anyways, moving forward, I think I've already talked about that. According to Game Matsu, Under Night In Birth EXE : latest is coming to PC on August 20th. This is a Arc Systems Work fighter game. One of these anime fighter characters. It's named pretty awkwardly when translated to English like that. I imagine it makes a little bit more sense, or it sounds a little bit cooler in Japanese. Let's see. It's from a developer who goes by the name of French Bread. And let's see. The two games before them are both positively related by that developer. And the original cutscene is full-on. The trailer is a full-on anime trailer experience. Kid with a sword.
For justice. Reporting for duty.
This is really all. Any fighter game is going to come down to its characters at some level, and so this also. They also come down to their player base, and whether there's a player base that wants to play this. So I'll keep an eye on this fighting game. It's probably not the right fighting game to play, frankly, unless you've played them all the other ones. When you compare this to something like, why not play Dragon Ball FighterZ that has had at least a popular audience play it for a short time, and you'd find a few matches at least. Or why not play this against like Street Fighter or one of the other big major
Reporting for duty.
Major series in the fighting genre. Let's see. We have a game called Beast and Chess on Steam. Looks like an asset flip, which is to say it has a pretty environment, and no showing that off. Seems like you fight animals with swords and crossbows. played every paladin card here.
Reporting for duty.
Let's go out on our own terms. And now I'm seeing a minotaur. Now I'm seeing an alligator. Generally speaking, just running around a field and fighting beasts is not an appealing enough concept. Witcher 3 had full sections in which you could have just run around and fought monsters, and the monsters were kind of few and far between. If there were more in Witcher 3, I would have been a little bit happier, but if that was the only thing in Witcher 3, I'd be very, very disappointed. Clearly it wasn't the most important factor. Anyways, Beast in Chest is 10% off for $8.99. I would say, while it is rather polished, this does approach the level of an asset flip game. Or you don't even really have to get that far. You could just say it's just not a fully realized, fun-looking game. That also feels to be like an accurate description. Moving on, TechRaptor says Wasteland 2's Director's Cut switches it up this August. Now, the idea of a game having a Director's Cut is kind of a terrifying concept to me, because that just implies a level of misuse of the player's time that we just haven't seen before. The idea to come back, that they want you to come back and play the same game but there are slight changes, doesn't sound that good. Now, I guess technically we have seen this before, and this is being, the trailer's pointing out this as a Switch game. Nintendo has done Master Sword collections and more difficult versions of Zelda games, and those two arguably I wouldn't really want to play, or maybe I'd play the more difficult version. A lot of the Zelda different versions just have the maps flipped, so not a lot is really not really even changed that much. Let's see. Looking at Wasteland 2, it's a top-down, it looks like a twin-stick shooter, but it might be an XCOM-like game. Which, what did we call them before they were called XZone? It's a team-based RPG, focuses on multiple solutions. The quick take here is, I think it's great that the Switch is getting a good RPG like this. It should very well. Wasteland 2 improves significantly with the Director's Cut, so it's for the best that this version is being ported. It does seem that Brian Fargo is doing his best to get the Wasteland name out there now before what promises to be a busy 2019 year for the franchise and his final projects. Wow. Final projects from a programmer. You're basically saying he's never going to work again. I'm sure they didn't mean to phrase it that way, but that's how it reads. So maybe Director's Cut in this instance, and probably in a lot of instances for video games, is more of a euphemistic way of saying a Game of the Year edition, a patched edition, a special edition. I'm not as upset with those terms as the idea that there would be a theatrical cut that is at least allegedly on the same level as the Director's Cut, and you should see both. Because I'm kind of a fan of in the movie, not Total Recall. What's the name of the movie?
You have been.
I should know the name of the movie. I kind of love it. It's a Philip K. Dick story. That's why I think it's called Total Recall, but it's not. Well, there was this movie that had like 5 different cuts with very small, subtle edits to them. And I really don't feel like you need to see all 5 of them, but seeing the director's cut and seeing the theatrical cut do seem to be worth it, and I could be wrong about which cuts you actually should see. There's definitely lists online that will tell you. If I could just think of the name of the movie.
I will fight with honor. I will command the light.
It's a movie that had robots in it since, and Harrison Ford added to it, and it's very popular. It's where that Tears in the Rain speech that was ad-libbed happened. They made a continuation of it a couple years ago. It was pretty good, although kind of odd. It's a one-word name of a movie. No, it's Blade Runner. It's a 2-word movie. Yes. So you can see I'm probably not doing too well mentally if I can't remember the name of Blade Runner. Blade Runner is the movie I was talking about. There are 5 cuts of that, and I'm a big fan of seeing the 2 versions that are important, but I'm not really a big fan of seeing all 5 or more versions. Speaking of movies that I think could do very well with a new cut, I watched on Netflix in the US Star Wars Episode 8, and I don't want to get into a full-on rant, and I'm not really a Star Wars fanboy anyways. I've said before, Babylon 5 was really my deal, so and if anything, it goes, I love Babylon 5, then I really like Star Trek The Next Generation, and Star Wars is way further down the list. It's like, I really don't even care. So I don't have a pedantic hate because it's ruining my nostalgia or anything. I just think the writing is bad in Episode 8. They try to make it a comedy where, at least to my memory, it has always been a action adventure movie series with some comedic moments. And sure, maybe Episode 1 tried to push it more towards the comedy level, but it's not that great. So, you probably would end up with less than 90 minutes if you did this, but if you took all the comedic moments out, particularly the ones in the first 25 to 30 minutes of the movie, I think you'd set a very different tone that could have improved the movie a lot with just the footage that's being shown. The more footage that isn't actually on the screen and is left on the cutting room floor, the more I feel like I could probably, or I could, slash somebody with actual editing skill could improve upon that, the movie. There's a lot of other problems certainly with the movie, and I could go on a rant about it. There's just too many characters in the movie. There's too much going on, certainly. But I think if you just went for tonal changes, you could shift it a lot. And I'm pretty sure they've done that with other Star Wars movies too. That there's probably an edit online of Episode 1, 2, and 3 where with just slight editing decision changes you can shift it to a slightly better experience. Oddly though, Episode 7 is not on Netflix, so I still haven't seen that. Not really surprising though that the bad movie is on Netflix where the good one is still being sold on Blu-ray. Moving on, Rock Paper Shotgun has an article. Silent Hill loses the PT fan remake, gains a book and a Fallout 4 mod. So we'd already heard the story that there was a "you've got to take this down" threat of legal action to the fan-made PT game, but apparently Rock Paper Shotgun is spinning this into a bigger story by adding some other non-relatedness. There's a Fallout 4 mod as a tribute to Silent Hills called Claustrophobia that is not a remake of the PT demo. It's just, I think, more of a inspired by, which is almost at that level just an advertisement, a way of advertising your mod to say, oh, it's inspired by this thing.
This is my responsibility.
Let's see.
Job done.
So, okay. I'll look at this 21-second video of it. So the video is in a area in Fallout 4, a modded area that looks in line with the hallway, but I'm not sure how long it goes or if it plays the same way. And then the story, there was a book that was released a few months back called Joel Couture from Indie Games did an entire book about PT, and he treats the entire production as a ghost investigation of a sort. So it's a book about, I assume, the demo and not a book that is actually set in universe and is a fantasy book. Although it might be half and half. What a way to stretch out your article, frankly. It's 3 pretty irrelevant things that would have been a paragraph alone, combined into 3 paragraphs for no real reason. Chat disconnected, chat reconnected on mine forum, like I said, the internet. PC Gamer has an article, new We Happy Few trailer offers confusing lesson in happiness. Let's see if this is the same trailer that I've seen before. Every time I go to PC Gamer, they're also saying, check out the Prime Day sales. And so far, from what I've seen, Prime Day sales aren't great for me. Although I am kind of a weird person to sell to because I kind of have everything I need. Or the things I want or the things I need are not in the level of something that would normally be for sale ever. They're too niche, they're too
your magic shall not
too
save
unique. More than anything, what I need is money. I can certainly always take some more games on Steam, but there's really no way to do that. Like, I suppose you could buy a Steam gift card right now during Prime Day sale, but I bet it's not at a discount, and I suppose any games you buy, I haven't seen any video games that are on a discount that would also give you a Steam code. So yeah, there's a real question there about, can you as a Steam gamer accomplish this? So this trailer is different. Apparently the character you're playing as has been grabbed by what I assume is the secret police of the We Happy Few universe, and they've taken him to a lab where they're like brainwashing him basically into being happy. Let's see, I only need to play 7 more and get 1 more victory. So we're doing good. I get the feeling that British people who are video game critics are going to like We Happy Few more than other countries' critics, since it's such a British-centric story. Or it might be the exact opposite, but yeah, I'm still not seeing a lot. We Happy Few has gone such transformations that I really am gonna have to wait till people play it and actually review it themselves, and I get some trusted reviews from somebody, because I'm right now very up in the air about what that game even is. TechRaptor has an article: a coding typo ruined Xenomorph's AI in Aliens Colonial Marines. I have Aliens Isolation. The weird thing here is, as much as Randy Pitchford shoots his mouth off, this is one thing he probably would never speak to, because he was sued over it, and he's very bitter over that fact, over the game being misleading and the trailers being misleading. And he had the Aliens Colonial Marines was a Sega license, and Sega wasn't happy with him either, with Gearbox's development of the game. And it certainly seems like it went bad, and maybe they didn't, after a certain point, even really bug check more than a very lazy form of bug checking, because what, as I understand it, happened is somebody misspelled the word tether that would have told the AI of the Xenomorph what area he was in, so he could try and find the exits and entrances and flank you. And with that misspelling, the Xenomorphs just run straight towards you and are really easy to kill, and not really acting like what you would expect a Xenomorph from the Aliens movie series to act like. However, the misspelling would have thrown an error in any compiler if you're calling an object or a function that does not exist. So to fix the fact that it was at one point throwing an error, somebody, whether they were told to do this or not, made a second function with the word not spelled right, tether, misspelled, that did absolutely nothing. That's the only way I can understand that would have happened, because there were 2 functions, and one did a lot and one did nothing. It could be that this was some kind of QA thing for consoles, or some other platform that they were targeting. I would assume it was consoles, and the function actually crashed or didn't run. And so in a way of QAing for one thing, they decided to just disable a lot of code that they had already programmed. But the thing here is, well, this would be a super easy patch that anybody can do, and you can go to TechRaptor and see the instructions. I don't think they will ever admit mistake here and push out a patch on Steam. I don't think Gearbox would.
Let me think.
So the vast majority of people, if they're unlucky enough to buy Aliens Colonial Marines, are always going to have this bad experience, unless they read like reviews and say, you've got to fix this. And inherently, fixing this one thing doesn't fix all the other problems. To quote TechRaptor's quick take here, It probably wouldn't have made the game any more popular on release, but it could have at least eased the burden on the poor souls who had to review it. Yeah, and as for now, we'll see if Gearbox goes back to fix the typo officially, or just lets the game fade back into obscurity. And inherently, I think probably the right response is to just let it fade back into obscurity. Like, they probably don't care. Unfortunately, Gearbox in general has hit a point where it's like, what do they care about? And what should I care about based on what they care about? Because they're really not doing a good job in their new publishing division to advertise the new games that they're publishing. They're not really doing a good job on releasing any games from themselves. Battleborn was the last game that was a first-party title. Everybody's still holding their breath on Borderlands 3. Although I did hear some people saying over the most recent trouble Randy Pitchford stepped into that they were not going to play Borderlands 3. I think that's probably a extreme commitment that those people are taking, and I'll see if I suspect they don't stick to it. But yeah, he may have lost some sales, and the whole thing about Randy Pitchford coming out and criticizing ArenaNet and the CEO of ArenaNet and his decision is just not good business. Like, if ArenaNet ever had any thoughts of partnering with Gearbox, they probably won't do it now, and that's not helpful for your company. Not helpful at all. CEOs of one company shouldn't come out and criticize CEOs of another company unless you've already created an Apple-Google scenario where the two companies hate each other quite a bit and we're never going to work together anyways. And this is probably the point where I need to admit that I feel kind of dumb that I didn't realize this, is the reason it's become apparent to me that the ArenaNet's mess was so misreported by news reporters is, yes, I got the part where they're all SJWs and they want to defend a woman who's crying she's being mistreated because she's a woman. I get that part, but what I didn't get is that there was probably another 50% of the mainstream video game media defending her actions, which was insulting people on Twitter in public and then getting fired for being rude and insulting people. The other part of that I didn't realize is the reason why the mainstream video game journalists want to defend that and say that's right. And as I've heard many of them talk about it and go, yeah, our company should totally defend us, or our company totally does defend us, is
your magic shall not save you.
It took me a long time to realize this. They all want to talk poop, basically. So, every single Jim Sterling is probably a great example because he does talk poop, I imagine, to people and insults people randomly on Twitter. So, it's really an issue, at least for I think half of the people who were supporting the writers in the ArenaNet mess and over the ArenaNet company, is because they themselves, the journalists, want to be able to get on Twitter and insult people. Which, boy, does that not look good. Like, when you get that perspective, when you give off the air of that perspective, That is not good. That's a cable company level of customer service, where it's like, we don't care, we're just gonna make fun of you. You could get away with some of that, like if you're Wendy's Twitter and you're being memey and funny, but you have to be really careful. The customer maybe isn't always right. Maybe that old adage is a little bit off, but the customer should always be treated with respect. Nobody who runs a business should disagree with that opinion, even if they're wrong. Let's see. Surprisingly, there's another Tether story. Rock Paper Shotgun has an article, the terraforming tail Tether placed on indefinite hold. So there's this game called Tether, apparently, that has been placed on indefinite hold. I'd never heard of it, and this is certainly one of those instances where games are getting so hyped up and announced so early that it's totally possible to announce a game and then it never come out, and that's just not a good system. Alright, so I need to play one paladin card. Odds are I could play one paladin card playing as the mage. So let's move over to Tempo Mage. The quote here is, this week I've decided to put Tether game on ice for the foreseeable future. This is just due to two factors. One, we've been an unfunded team for 2 years now, and I can't allow the wonderful people I work with to continue to grind away with any sort of financial reward seemingly, and then it goes ... and they don't report on this. This is definitely a problem. Like, come on, if somebody does a 2-tweet thing, and arguably, I don't even know why this guy did a 2-tweet tweet, since I don't think he took up the 240 new limit. But so many, I guess, people are using TweetDeck and other services that are still at 140 maybe? That's the only reason why I could see that you would break that. And so I don't even know what the... Job's done. The summary that the article says is that the workers on the unfunded game went unpaid for 2 years, and Gregory was tired of both wasting their time and burning himself alive financially, which means he was paying them and he doesn't want to pay him. Which, fair enough. But that is also an indicator that if you're going to make a game, you really need to get the funding. And if you can't get a business loan for 4 to 5 years to make that game, or a loan from somebody, or an investment from somebody for 4 to 5 years, your game idea and your game pitch is not good enough, and you're just not ready to hit even the pre-production stage. The opposite of that, of course, is to get Kickstarter to fund your game, or some other service like Kickstarter to fund your game, so you don't have to get a loan and don't have to make as good of a business pitch. And a lot of a business pitch is also, how are you going to pay people? How are you going to buy the equipment? Are there going to be offices? Things like that are not mentioned in Kickstarters at all, usually. And I don't recommend, certainly, that people fund Kickstarter games. So I guess inherently that does mean I kind of wish everybody was working with a publisher and everybody was working with a big company, and only big games that are massively appealing should be made if you're going to have a team and if you're going to make a big game. I think there's also a split there where you can be a small indie developer that is a team of less than 5 people, all willing to put their time and effort into it for free to make their dream come true. But I don't know if there's really a middle ground between that. I think there's indie people who are going to fund it themselves, and then there should be publishers of some sort. Maybe Digital Devolver would be the closest to a middle ground between an indie developer and not. In the end, this is really just a financial situation of just not having the money to make the project you want to make, which often happens. Moving on, Rock Paper Shotgun has an article. Duncan Jones is making a Rogue Trooper movie. The director of Moon, which I assume Moon, they mean the Western Moon movie. There was a Korean Moon movie that was pretty good, too. In fact, I think the Korean Moon movie was better than the Western Moon movie. Well. But they weren't the same movie. They weren't the same story at all. Is making a Rogue Trooper. I don't know what Rogue Trooper is.
Warriors of the frozen wastes.
Rogue Trooper is a 2000 AD comic series created by Gary Finley Day. And so, okay, this is not even really video game related. I don't know why this got listed as a video game. Oh, because the comic book series was released as a game called Rogue Trooper Redux, which are these blue trooper-esque characters. See, this game right now is sitting at 66% positive, so it's not a great game. It would be a hard justification, certainly, to have the game, play the game just because a movie is in development that may take a considerable amount of time, if ever, to actually come out. But I guess the connection is here, so I'll keep a wish list on this Rogue Trooper Redux. But I don't even know if I'd really want to play the blue characters. They don't, not visually appealing. It just looks like Avatar people. Without the alienness of the Avatar elements. Okay. So we're gonna do this, and this. Attack that there. Get that there. Job's done. In return. Rock Paper Shotgun has an article. I don't know why I'm seeing more Rock Paper Shotgun articles. I thought I muted them. Northern Springs brings Frosty Adventure to Fallout 4. It's a mod. I don't think I really have time to talk about mods for Fallout 4. There's a YouTuber that covers mods for Fallout. Although he mostly just covers the skin and clothing mods more than anything else. Let's see. Guess we'll look and see what the mod really does. Yeah, it just seems like it's more gameplay. It says 50 new locations to explore, 25 quests. It's a pretty big mod, it looks like, for Fallout 4. I don't think it fixes Fallout 4 though. Like, the last thing I would want is more Fallout 4. Gematsu has an article, Brave Fencer Musashi, Musashi, 20th anniversary commemorative video. Square Enix has released a special video to commemorate the 20th anniversary. This is a action RPG game, but there's nothing here saying that they're releasing a remaster. It was it was the came out for the original PlayStation, so I don't know why they would spend the money to do this, other than maybe in an effort to see if there's perhaps interest in making another game in the series. Like that's kind of all you could take it as.
Job's done.
Skip through the trailer. It's just rather a bunch of stills with probably some dialogue or music over it. It's not a lot. Not a lot. So I'm not even sure if Brave Fencer Musashi came out to the West 20 years ago. I'd be very surprised if it did. But let's see, should we play casual or should we play classic mage? Let's try that. I don't know how that, like, how can you really report on that and have anything to say? It's just like, yeah, somebody made a video for a 20th anniversary, but they didn't announce that they're doing anything other than that. And we've seen other Japanese companies do that, where it's like, oh yes, it's the anniversary of Resident Evil 1 or Resident Evil 2. We're not doing anything.
Watch your back.
You asked for it.
In the mod that is remastering and redoing all the graphics for Resident Evil 4, since that just reminded me, put out a new update. It's not fully finished, but now would be a good time to download it anyways, just in case they get DMCA'd.
None will survive.
But one of the things it said was use this program called the 4GB patch tool that allows 32-bit programs to use 4 GB of virtual RAM instead of 2 GB of virtual RAM. Inherently, I don't think this is going to fix the stuttering problems on my computer with the GTX 970, which I assume is the problem. But I definitely want to try it, and so I downloaded that program, and it's a program for kind of any 32-bit program, so if anything is running a little sluggish, I wouldn't recommend patching games before you try, but if something seems like it's a little sluggish and it worked before when you were on a 32-bit operating system and it doesn't work when you move to a 64-bit operating system, give it a try and see what happens. PC Gamer has a article, the Newegg Fantastic Prime Day PC Gaming Deals of 2018. So it's fantastic, but with tech as the last part of the word, TECK. Lots of companies, I saw Newegg, but I've heard also lots of other companies are matching prices and trying to get in on the Amazon.com Prime Day. So they got maybe 1 or 2 years of a sale day by themselves, and now they've created competition, which is good for the consumer in the small part, but frankly we should have competition in prices every day, not on very specific days where they try to get you to buy a bunch of things that you don't actually need. And so this PC Gamer article then goes on to list some sales, like an i7 8700 and motherboard combo for $400 $124. The Acer Predator gaming laptop for $1,000. An iBuyPower computer for $1,300. An i5 8600K for $234. Frankly, let's just skip all the gaming laptops and computers because these deals are not really good deals unless you absolutely were saving up your pennies and in the process of buying a game. If you're buying a second laptop or a second computer, that ain't a good deal. And cheapest laptop I've seen that's a gaming laptop is $650. Getting RAM might make sense. There's some G.Skill Ripjaw 5 series 16 gigabytes of DDR RAM in 2 packages, so that's 2 times 8 gigabytes of RAM. Let's see. There's a Gigabyte X470 Azores Ultra Gaming AM4 motherboard for $109. That's probably maybe a little bit of a detailed deal. 500 gigabyte Western Digital Blue SSD for $100. Not really a good deal. Windows 10 Home Edition for $80. Gigabyte GeForce GTX 1080 WindForce OC for $449. I should buy that, frankly, if I was going to buy a video card, but I'm trying to live with the 970 and go to a 1180 in the next series. So whenever the 1100 series comes out, that's what I'd like to buy. Yeah, most of these prices don't seem like they're really deals. I recommend everybody check out sites like slickdeals.net and look at the real deals that happen over the course of the year compared to most sales that are just like 10% off, barely any real difference. I should have drawn cards first there, by the way. Game of Citra has an article. Coming soon, question mark. German court bans vague release dates on pre-orders. Germany has banned vague release dates for pre-orders, meaning retailers won't be able to list pre-orders without also providing a shipping date. This is... I mean, you certainly, in any ruling like this, can go 2 ways. So you could say it's the European government overreaching and creating nanny states, or you could go the way I think it, and I'm like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Like, I think inherently though, this just says they have to list a date. It doesn't say they actually have to make that date. So the higher regional court ruled that consumers must know when they can expect a delivery after placing pre-orders. So now on, they won't be able to use unclear terminology like coming soon or release date to be announced. I guess is what they're trying to say there. This ruling applies to all products listed for pre-order in the region, including video games. Of course, the decision won't affect how pre-orders operate in other countries like the United States or UK. Although, arguably, if we can see a release date listed in that region, then you can kind of get the release date or range. The thing here is, at least in this Game of Sutra article, there's nothing here that says what happens if they miss that release date. Are they fined a small amount? Are they fined a little amount? Does nothing happen? Are consumers entitled to a full refund of their pre-order if it's not delivered in a certain time.
Begin.
You asked for it.
Let's see. The Eurogamer article here is like word for word the same article, it seems. Didn't even seem like they changed anything. Yeah, there's no indication whatsoever of what the penalty could be or wouldn't be. Chat disconnected again. Apologies to anybody that's trying to chat. Today is just not your day. If you put something in the chat and you want me to respond to it, put it down in the comments in this video or some other video. I'll eventually catch it and respond. Apologies. We have a game on Steam, The Thief of Thieves Season 1. This is a game that I saw earlier and had caught my eye as a adventure stealth with choices matter according to the tags, and it's now out on July 16th. It's a season 1 game, and that's a problem. That means, to me at the very least, it can only at best be a game that I wish list and keep an eye on. There's too many games I have already that I haven't finished already. Thief of Thieves is rated M for drug references and strong languages. It's 10% off for $22.49 for season 1. Yeah, I feel like there just needed to have been more. Just a little bit more. What am I asking for here? I want more. Well, I don't want it to be season 1 is what I don't want it to be. I want it to be the complete game. They say it's based on Robert Kirkman's comic book series. It's a female character, seems to be the main character, or at least one of them. Yeah, I'm just gonna wishlist this and move on. If you're willing to risk the fact that there might not be a continuation after season 1, that's your choice, I suppose. Yeah, I have too many games like The Walking Dead and Telltale games that either don't have a continuation or completion of their story, or I just haven't purchased the continuation or completion of their story. This will be the last game we play for this recording, by the way. And certainly I haven't gotten around to finishing all of that. I need to finish The Walking Dead. Moving on, Gematsu has an article. The Uncharted live-action fan film starring Nathan Fillion has been released. It's a 15-minute movie. And I guess if I just hit play here, yeah, it is a straight-up 15-minute movie. Nathan Fillion is a weird one because it's like, sometimes I see reasons why people shouldn't like him and shouldn't support him, and sometimes I see people who are totally in love with him and want to totally support him because he was in Firefly. I would argue he's probably the worst part as far as actors in Firefly. But for Nathan Fillion to be a part of a fan film kind of speaks in a weird way to, like, he probably would never get hired by Naughty Dog to be in the real film. He probably has burnt any bridges to work with Naughty Dog by doing this. It's just not professional for a professional actor to be in a fan film. unless it's some weird case where you've danced around and gotten permission from everybody, and everybody's fine and happy with it. There were Star Trek fan movies and TV series that were made, and they got some of the actors to be in that, and I know they danced around it and made specific double sure that they weren't stepping on anybody's toes. And I don't think Nathan Fillion probably did that. As for this 15-minute Uncharted film, it's 15 minutes long. It doesn't really seem like it has much of anything in it, as I just kind of fast forwarded through all of that. I need to get one more mage victory, and let's see, one more paladin card. Arguably, in the next recording, we'll just get the paladin card and move over to the into the European account. Come to think of it, I very possibly could just re-roll this tomorrow and have 3 things to do on Wednesday. That's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. If you want to support me, friend me on Steam, gift me a game. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.